According to the comments from our last video, we have a lot of Georgia watchers, which we appreciate. And your two resident whiners are back to whine some more today.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm just fine. I'm counting down to week 0.
Yeah, I know we got a long time, and we got a long time to be barked at. But again, congratulations, Georgia. Georgia won. You know, I just got to start with this. A lot of people yesterday, I don't know if we did a poor job of communicating it or if people just wanted to hear what they wanted to hear. But I don't think you and I were saying, hey, Alabama definitely should have been in the playoffs. At least I wasn't. I get why TCU's in there. I get it. I totally get it. I understand it. My biggest problem is that TCU was seeded number 3. That was my biggest problem. I think that was so stupid. And it was clear that the committee just avoided the matchup of Ohio State, Michigan in the first round, which is not their job. So, and I'm also a little bit peeved that I keep getting all these comments about, well, Alabama, you got your butts kicked twice this year. I'm like, we lost twice on the last play of the game, both times. They weren't on the road in hostile environments. It wasn't butt kickings. It was we took the losses. And again, 2 losses, if you want to say that eliminates you from the playoffs, cool. I get it. I understand.
It should eliminate
but
you from the playoffs. It should.
Can we all agree that TCU, Georgia, if TCU gets in, is a round 1 matchup, not the national championship game? Can we at least agree on that? That's all we're saying.
I don't know how anybody could disagree with that except the committee, who they did that. The committee didn't want the Ohio State-Michigan semifinal, so they manipulated the seeding, which is dishonest. And I argued that before the committee met that TCU was not one of the 4 best. I thought that before the playoff, before the bowls, even after they beat Michigan, I don't think TCU is one of the 4 best teams. And I don't think Alabama deserved to be in the playoff. Both of those things can be true. That TCU is not one of the 4 best and Alabama doesn't deserve to be in the top 4. Both things can be true.
I totally agree with you. And again, if that's whining, then I am the whiniest whiner in Winetown.
I know what I'm getting into on Twitter when I say things like that. I know before I put it out there what the reaction from some will be, but I don't put out there stuff that I don't believe. It's my naked opinion.
And I do find it funny, like one Georgia fan actually took a snippet of something you were saying yesterday about how, hey, and you actually said in there, hey, kudos to Georgia. They deserve the national championship. But it's also fair to say that if J-Mo, Jamison Williams, and Marvis Harrison don't get hurt, Georgia probably loses both those games. That is also very fair to say. It is not necessarily true because we don't know because they got hurt.
Correct.
It is very fair to say that losing those 2 players in that particular game affected the outcome. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Again, not taking anything away from Georgia because they manipulated the schedule and went all the way through it, or matriculated their way through the schedule, not manipulated it. That was a poor choice of words.
They earned both national championships.
Earned the national championship.
They earned it. They are national champions. I'm not saying that it's hollow or artificial or less than deserved. Or
no,
both of
hang
their
the banner, man.
Well earned. Yeah.
It's fair to say. See, because we're not. It's funny because there are other Georgia shows that I have seen clips of. I haven't been able to watch the whole thing. That have basically said this is the best team of all time. Stetson Bennett better statistically than Cam Newton, Bryce Young, Johnny Manziel, blah blah blah. I'm like, look, it's very fair to say Stetson Bennett, man, he deserves every single accolade he's earned. In fact, if you're redoing the Heisman, if you were re-voting for the Heisman, you might vote him number 1 right now. You might, because Caleb Williams did lose to the same team.
I'd have no problem with him being number one over Caleb Williams. None.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I'd vote for him for the Heisman. I mean that. That being said, I don't think there's anybody who thinks he's better than Joe Burrow, Cam, Manziel, Bryce, Tua, any of those guys. I mean, I don't think there is. I mean, there could be, but it does not cheapen his accolades, just like it doesn't cheapen Jay Barker's accolades. He is a national championship winning quarterback. People forget he threw for 18 yards in that game. You still get the credit. So anyway, I feel like sometimes people try to make controversy where there's no controversy. There's no controversy. Georgia clearly 100% number one team in the country and earned every bit of it. And they're on the verge of a dynasty. That's no problem. I have no problem saying that. And I don't think that it's whining to say that, and also say at the time, man, I don't think we've gone anywhere.
The line is so fine. That's my point about Jameson and Marvin Harrison Jr. Is just simply pointing out the fine line, how difficult it is to win. I mean, you have to get breaks. You have to get breaks. LSU in 2019, Alabama in 2020. You have to get breaks, or it ain't going to happen. I know that fans like to think that like I say, every year when people start complaining about how Alabama looks in September, and I'm talking about Alabama fans, about how the team looks in September, there's this idea that the national champion Godzilla stomps their way through 14 or through 12 regular season games and then looks like an NFL playoff team and dismantling teams in the postseason. It's not that way. It's too hard. Everybody you're playing is too good. You need breaks. You need a lucky bounce. You need the official to make the wrong call. You need somebody on the other team one day. You need all that stuff, and it's all got to fall into place. And there's just a fine line between winning it all and not winning it all. And that's why I said what I said. And by the way, I'm not the only one to say that. I saw Mackenzie Milton, former, college football quarterback, said the exact same thing, that hey, Georgia's probably not national champion at all without those two injuries. I'm not the only one to say that, but I'm not saying it to discredit Georgia. I'm saying it that, hey, Alabama got a lot of breaks too the years Alabama won it.
In fact, I would say 2020 there weren't a ton of breaks. Alabama they did stomp everybody. And LSU 2019 stomped everybody for the most part, except, ironically, Auburn and Alabama, who they only beat by 5 points and 3 points respectively. And this Georgia team, again, they only beat Missouri by 3 points. They would have gone into halftime tied with Auburn at 0 if Brian Harsin hadn't already been planning for his ultimate firing to get the buyout, which was calling the world's worst fake punt. Second worst fake punt. We all know what the worst fake punt was. All right, Jimmy, I know that has nothing to do with anything about necessarily what's going on right now, but I think we need to clear that up. I do want to tell everybody about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is where you want to go to get that bet in. Look, hey, if you took Georgia minus 12.5, you could have taken Georgia minus 50-something and won anyway. So it didn't matter. You won a bunch of money at betonline.net. I say go check them out. You will absolutely love it. If you don't want to bet on college football because it's over, so it makes sense not to, then you can bet on the NFL playoffs, or you can bet on college basketball, or you can bet on NBA, or you can bet on futures, or you can bet on probably some MMA stuff that I don't even know is going on, or some golf, or whatever you want to. They got it at betonline.net. You want to play some poker? Man, you can do that. While you're sitting around waiting for your game to start or game to finish, play some poker, play some blackjack at betonline.net. It is where the game starts. I'm going to say it again for those in the back. BetOnline is where the game starts. Thank you, Jimmy, for repeating it. Okay.
It's catchy.
It is catchy. I'll tell you, I love it when some of our sponsors have catchy little catchphrases because it's so easier. Like BetOnline, first of all, they've been a great sponsor for a long time, so it's so easy for me to remember this stuff. But BetOnline is where the game starts is like, that just rolls off the tongue, man. All right, Jimmy. So tonight, the Alabama Crimson Tide will travel to Fayetteville, Arkansas, Bud Walton Arena, to take on the Arkansas Razorhawks. And Alabama doesn't have a record there. Not many teams do.
Nope.
But I saw a stat today from John Rothstein. Alabama, since giving up 100 points to Gonzaga back in mid-December, Alabama has averaged giving up only about 61 points per game since that time. Now, they haven't played anybody with the pedigree of Gonzaga since then. They have played teams like Mississippi State, who seriously, they shoot like stormtroopers. So, and then they've played Kentucky, who, wow, what on God's green earth is happening in Lexington? We could spend 6 podcasts on how angry Big Blue Nation must be because of that South Carolina game last night. South Carolina so many times was like, here, we don't want to win this game. Here's the game. Would you please take it? And nobody would take it. And then I saw a tweet from a Kentucky reporter that said, I just heard from Oscar Tshiebwe that he's been practically begging people to start caring more. Y'all, please show up and start acting like you care about this game because we're going to get beat. And they keep getting beat. And they don't seem to have a lot of fire in the belly for this team. That's for Locked On Kentucky to discuss. But I just find it interesting that as of right now, Kentucky would be a day one participant in the SEC tournament. I don't know that that's ever happened before. Day one for the new expanded format.
Right.
So
it's stunning. It's shocking. It's just, as bad as it was in Alabama football this year, we call it an abject disaster. Losing 2 games on the road by 1 play at the end and comparing that to being down 10 at the half to the worst team in the league and having the worst team. I mean, they have a real problem there. And of course, Fan Solutions always going to be fire everybody. Well, I don't think Calipari forgot how to recruit and coach. I don't think he just woke up and went, gosh, how did I used to do this? It just shows how difficult it is to maintain consistency regardless of any other thing. But there's a real problem. I guess, Luke, in the end, some teams have really good chemistry. They play really well together and sort of end up being better than the sum of the parts. And if that's true, then the opposite also has to be true. Some teams, you put all the parts together and it's like, how did we order all these fancy parts from the Ferrari store and our car can't even make it all the way to the Circle K? Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's going on here. It's really terrible chemistry. Alabama didn't have good chemistry last year in basketball. Didn't, and now we have excellent chemistry. And it's not like Nate went, oh yeah, I figured it. I mean, it's hard, people. It's just very difficult.
It is very difficult, especially when you have as much turnover as Kentucky has. But that being said, that's for Locked On Kentucky to discuss. I just find it interesting because, Kentucky's always a team that's in the middle of the SEC hunt. Alabama's in the middle of the SEC hunt. But Alabama is traveling to Bud Walton Arena tonight. The line is fluctuating between Bama -1, Pick'em, and Arkansas -1. So they think it's very even, and I think that's true. I think if this were played in a neutral site or in Tuscaloosa, Alabama would be a prohibitive favorite. Arkansas is dealing with some injury stuff. Nick Smith Jr. is out. A lot of people thought he'd be the best freshman in the conference. I think Brandon Miller has certainly taken that mantle over. And they've also lost that Brazil. Is that how you said it? He hadn't played in so long, I forgot to say his name, but he's done for the year. So they do have talent, though. I watched them against Auburn. And they attack the basket. They do. They're not a great three-point shooting team. They'll probably be better at home because everybody is. But they attack the basket. They look for fouls. And, somebody like Charles Bediako, this is one of those games where he might foul out in 10 minutes of playing time. That's what worries me. But I do think Alabama comes in with a talent advantage and a chemistry advantage. The problem is Arkansas is very hungry right now. They're almost desperate. They have to be. They've lost at LSU. They've already lost at them. They beat Missouri. They took everything they had. So they need a win like this. They need a good quality win. This would be a deal maker for them. So I think that it's going to be a very difficult game. It wouldn't shock me at all if Alabama lost.
Yeah, great analysis. Couldn't agree more. At some point, things are going so well for Alabama. I mean, it's so well. You're winning. You beat the heck out of Kentucky. You're already what 3-0 in the league. I mean, how long can it last? I mean, you're gonna lose at some point. This looks like a spot where that could happen because Arkansas is really good. Their style of play, it's going to be a hostile environment. You got to know they're going to play well. I saw a stat that said since Arkansas entered the league that I'm sure I'm getting this wrong because I saw it like 2 days ago. Since Arkansas entered the league, Luke, the record in this series is like 28-27, Arkansas. 28-27 since Arkansas entered the league. And it's so easy to believe two very evenly matched teams all the time. And I think evenly matched again. I think Alabama's better. I agree with Luke. If this was in Tuscaloosa, I'd feel pretty good about this. If this is in a neutral site, I'd be nervous. I would like Alabama's chances, but I'd be nervous. But they're in Fayetteville. I don't know. It's going to be hard. But if Alabama does lose tonight, won't change a thing about how I think the season will play out for Alabama. If Alabama wins tonight, Luke, I mean, gosh, I guess at that point we just make reservations. Is the Final Four in New Orleans or something?
No, it's in is it in Houston? I think it is in Houston.
In Houston, where the national championship of football is next year.
Next year.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess we need to make reservations. Win tonight.
I'd polish up your ostrich skin boots and get your 10-gallon hats. All right, Jimmy.
If I wore big cowboy boots and a big cowboy hat, I would look like what's that Western saying? All hat, no cattle.
No, you would look like that. You remember on ABC cartoons where they had that guy that was like a hanker for a hunk of cheese? Remember that guy?
No, I don't.
Oh God. I'm going to find a picture of it.
Thank God I don't. No, I'm just saying I would be drowned out by a big cowboy hat and big boots. There would be like very, very little Jimmy in the middle of those two things.
Yes, I will find a picture of this guy and put it up. Oh, I just found it.
Oh, no way.
And I'm going to pull it up here in just a second. But Jimmy, I did want to tell everybody that something that just came across the wire. Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out for the game this weekend against Buffalo. I mean, I hate it. I really, really wanted to see Tua play in this game. I thought it would honestly, again, I thought it'd be a golden opportunity for Tua and the Dolphins to sneak up on the Bills. And here's why. Because they played with such emotion against New England that you got to feel like they're going to have a bit of a downturn. Even though Buffalo's the better team. There's no doubt about that.
Bridgewater going to be able to play? Bridgewater's be able to play, I hope.
They said Bridgewater might be able to play, but right now it's going to be Skylar Thompson, who sounds like an extra on Melrose Place. All right, Jimmy, hang on. You will remember this guy when I show you right now. You don't remember that guy? That's you.
I do. That's me.
All right. Let's tell everybody about Built Bar, Jimmy. I love these things. They're absolutely delicious. My son, who is a workout warrior at Arizona State, you have to be at Arizona State. You can't go around being chunky at Arizona State, by the way, because everybody over there looks pretty doggone good. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all the fat and calories, you got to try Built Bar. I'm telling you, they're awesome. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, and you're where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got the thing for you, and that is Built Bar. You got to try Built. Go to Built.com. You will absolutely love them. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate, not that phony chocolate stuff, chocolate substitute. And they come in unbelievably good flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. I'm not sure what a macro is, but that's awesome. And what's even better is that they are healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com. You now get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your local Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a bottle, or go to Sam's Club. Also get them on Amazon, which I've done that before. But really, you can go to built.com if that's what you want to, if that's what you prefer. So go get you some Built today, and go do that. All right, Jimmy, Alabama's got a visitor coming in this weekend, a defensive lineman who I think is originally from Michigan, but had signed with Kentucky, played
Correct.
for Kentucky last year, in Justin Rogers.
Detroit, like Axel Foley.
Hey, what?
He's from Detroit, like Axel Foley.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying he was going to bring Axel Foley with him. That'd be cool. So anyway, he's coming in now. Look, I remember his being pretty highly recruited. I think he was a high 4-star defensive lineman. So just tell us about him. You know about him coming in this weekend.
Yeah. He 18 game starter at Kentucky, full-time starter this past season. He's a nose guard. Here's what's odd about the take to me. Obviously, if he's coming in, I think at this point, that means Alabama would like him to commit and sign. High quality player, would definitely be part of our first team, probably a starter, even if not. I mean, he would be in the rotation with Otis and a Boygby and Tim Smith. He'd be playing with those guys. What I find a little odd is, to me, he's a nose guard. I mean, that's his best position. He's a nose guard. He's 6'3", 330 pounds. He's a nose guard. And we already got one of those in Jaheim Otis, who's a really good player. But I think basically Rogers and Otis would share nose guard. We'd never take the nose guard off the field, and we would always have a fresh one. That would be a heck of an advantage and a neat thing to have. I also think Otis and Rogers are athletic enough to play another spot on the defensive line. So it would be a great depth add. I'm just saying, since we already have a nose guard, I don't see this as what I would call absolutely crucial to the success of everything this fall. I mean, because we already have a nose guard. But he is good. Is he awesome? Is he a first-round pick? I don't think so. I think he's just more of a solid SEC defensive lineman, sort of like how I would describe a Boygby and Byron Young and Tim Smith. Just solid SEC proven veteran defensive lineman. So you got to want him. You got to take him. He would be a good add. Is he absolutely essential to our success this fall? Now, I wouldn't say this was like adding Jamison Williams or even To'o or Tyler Steen. I think he's just more of Gibbs. A guy. Gibbs. I think he's more of a guy that's in the rotation and helping us. Definitely a good player. So we'll see what happens. He'll be officially visiting this weekend.
One more note, recruiting basketball-wise, LeBaron Philon has cut his list down to 6. I know Auburn and Alabama made the cut. I think Ole Miss, Tennessee. I can't remember the other two, but it doesn't matter. I think in the end, this is going to come down to Alabama and Auburn. Yeah. He's incredible. In fact, now, I could be wrong because there could be some sort of Jeremy Monso thing going on here for those who like blast from the past. But I think he leads the country in scoring.
That's pretty good. That's good, right?
In high school. I mean, it's unbelievable for a junior.
Yeah, for a junior. Yeah, I mean, this guy won't be a senior until next fall. Best player in Mobile since DeMarcus Cousins, which is saying a lot. And even though Cousins is really from Birmingham, but DeMarcus played his last season or two at LaFleur in Mobile. Philon is the best player from Mobile since then, which is saying a lot. He's really a gifted scorer. He's kind of a combo guard. He can play the 1, he can play the 2. To me, he's a 2. I mean, from what I've seen of him in the highlights, and I've seen him, to me, he's a 2 guard. But he can play the point. Here's what's weird about his recruitment, and I don't know the basketball recruiting quite as well as I know the football. I know it pretty well, but not perfectly. But this is my sense, Luke. I think if you ask Auburn, they'll tell you he's going to Alabama. And I think if you ask Alabama, they're like, we're kind of worried about Auburn here. So that's how tight this is. Now, I really think that's how both programs view it. Like, Alabama's worried about Auburn and Auburn's worried about Alabama.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, and that'll be one that the whole state will have their eyes on. I mean, it's not often that you have this heated in-state battle for a player between Alabama and Auburn. But anyway, Jimmy, we'll talk more tomorrow. We'll talk about the Alabama-Arkansas game for sure, and maybe have some more recruiting news. Who knows? Transfer portal news. Who knows? I mean, this is happening every day. So until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.